and welcome to Your Vote Counts. I'm Amy Vandegrift from the League of Women Voters, bringing you this public informational voter service program. These 2020 general election interviews are made possible through Capital Community Media, via remote technology, and in collaboration with the League of Women Voters of Oregon and Marion County. For this race, all candidates have been invited. Candidates did not receive the questions developed by the League of Women Voters, AAUW, and neighborhood associations ahead of time. The candidates were asked to prepare a 3-minute statement telling about themselves, their qualifications, and their vision for the office if elected. I would like now to ask candidate Danielle Bethell, who is running for the office of Marion County Commissioner, Position 3, to share her opening remarks. Danielle?
Thank you, Amy. I'm a native Oregonian and a resident of Marion County for the past 31 years. I'm a mother to 3 and a proud wife and a proud small business owner. In addition to owning my own small business, I have been the executive director for the Kaiser Chamber of Commerce for the last 4.5 years. I currently serve as the vice chair of the Salem Kaiser School Board and have vast experience in policymaking, advocacy, program management, and development, and I lead with a servant's heart. I have served my community as a Kaiser Rotarian since 2014, where I have partnered and led several community impact projects, including fundraising and project managing 2 $1 million high school turf field installment efforts. I grew up predominantly in the Northeast Salem area, and it wasn't that easy. My mom was a single mother who experienced severe mental health challenges, which ultimately led me through a journey of homelessness. These formative years give me a unique perspective, both on the needs for core government services, but also the power of private citizens helping our community. I'm running for Marion County Commissioner because I believe that while this year has been very difficult, I think beyond belief, our county's best days are still ahead. I will continue to be an advocate for our small businesses, and I will fight hard to keep our economy, I will fight hard to get our economy back up and running, so everybody who has a need can find it and secure it safely, and everybody who needs a job can get one. County government can't create jobs, but it can create an environment of affordability. I will work to keep county fees and taxes as low as possible without compromising core services for those in need. I'm honored to be endorsed by all 3 sitting commissioners, District Attorney Clarkson, mayors and councilors, and former law enforcement officials across, as well as many businesses and community leaders from all walks of life. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you. So let's do some question and answer. Do the recent crisis reveal any major gaps in the county's emergency services? If so, how would you address them?
So you mean the current wildfire crisis in general?
In general, that
or others?
Or other things, yes.
Okay, well, yes is the answer. There is some gaps that exist, and I'll speak to 2 that I have personally engaged. Earlier this year in the spring, when our community and our country was faced with COVID-19, I have seen all walks of life impacted in really extreme ways. One of the challenges that I have seen from the county is not having some really sustainable grassroots connections with those making decisions for those who are receiving the services. For the better part of the last 6 months, I have plugged myself into various committees and stakeholder groups so that way I know what's happening in the county and where voids are, so that way I can bring the services that I provide and recruit resources to fill those gaps. Fast forward to the last couple of weeks with the wildfires that literally struck our communities by surprise. I have seen that there are significant gaps in what processes need to take place to serve our individual counties across Oregon, but specifically in Marion County. I had the privilege a couple of weeks ago on Tuesday morning when the fires came down the mountain and impacted the Santiam Canyon to show up on site at the Oregon State Fairgrounds to just simply provide basic needs of water and materials for animals to help the evacuees, and saw that there was a gap of services in knowing what to do and how to do it. That led me to a 6-day journey of staying on site at those fairgrounds, providing crisis management and pivoting constantly to make sure the people we were receiving were having a direction to turn to while their animals and livestock were being kept safe. Marion County is a really unique environment. It has urban and rural, and in that rural, there's different levels of lifestyles that go on. And I think the county needs to have a more upfront approach as to knowing who's where and how they're surviving in the event that we have another natural disaster. We'll know what needs will be need to be met right away, rather than trying to reinvent the wheel that nobody else has worked on before.
Considering the increased need in communication in services such as online education, remote healthcare, and access to county services, what can Marion County do to make technology more accessible in rural areas?
So we need more technology access points. If we start working with establishing what the exact need is, knowing that this is likely an opportunity of growth for online services, we need to make sure we're providing adequate bandwidth for our entire community. As a parent on the Valley floor, I have 2 students who are in online comprehensive learning right now. And Salem Kaiser serves more than 49,000 data points, and we have struggled just down here. I can't imagine what it would be like going up the canyon or to the other crooks and crannies of our county trying to provide access, let alone gain access. So I want our county to be thinking outside the box, developing partnerships, and trying to be ahead of the curve to basically be guessing what's to come and getting those opportunities in place now, so we're not chasing ourselves at the end when we know there's a need.
Okay. Adequate maintenance of city and county roads can be an issue. What are some of the short and long-term strategies you want to see done to address transportation issues?
Adequate maintenance. Well, I think that oftentimes there's more individuals in the community than there are individuals serving the community. And so I think we have to have a balanced approach to providing those services. We know that we have a 10-year study from Portland State University expecting our region to grow by 10,000-fold just in the Salem Kaiser area in the next 10 years, which means we're going to have more cars on the road. And how do we go about managing access to the rural points of the community that probably get less services versus guiding folks down more of an interstate pathway, so that way we can manage those roads more safely and contain the traffic direction. I know that there is a need for more mass transit, and I think working with the local area SCATS team is really beneficial in doing the local area assessments to determine how we can best provide transportation services to not just the Salem Kaiser area of the county, but the entire region of the county. I think there's opportunities to create more carpool or more transportation share options that you've seen in the valley, from the valley up to the Portland metro area. I believe there's opportunity to grow that from the canyon to the valley and vice versa, so we can also reduce some of that potential growth impact on our roadways.
Okay. Salem City Council is working on a climate action plan to reduce greenhouse gases. What actions would you propose for Marion County to reduce greenhouse gases and meet state goals?
I'm definitely not an expert in greenhouse gases, and I'm not all that familiar with what the Salem City Council is doing. I think in general, the county does a really great job of reviewing their global impact and managing it as they see fit. I know that we have great programs in place, specifically through Cavanta, which is up in Brooks, where it's our local recycling waste management system. I also think that we, again, can be looking at some of those transportation options to reduce our carbon footprint from just transportation. And then working with our Marion County Environmental Impact Program to have better communication and more broader received services of really what a carbon footprint is and how that impacts greenhouse gas emissions individually, so we can all have direct ownership and opportunity of keeping our environment clean and safe.
Okay. Marion County is looking for alternatives to garbage burning at the Cavana Marion incinerator. What plans would you propose that perhaps are less polluting and less expensive?
Well, for one, I think we need to start at home. I think that citizens in general need to rely less on government to make a profound impact, and they need to rely more on themselves. So I think we need to look at home and look at the things that we're purchasing and how frequently we purchase those things. For example, if we transitioned our thought process from just convenient shopping to long-term sustainable shopping, I think that would help with the reduction of the need for those recycling and transfer stations. One prime example is purchasing glass over plastic and then reusing that glass at home in different manners that make sense and are more equitable across the global carbon footprint. I am actually a proponent of Cavanta, and I really believe that system for what we have in place here is successful for our community. But I'm always willing to learn about other opportunities to reduce the waste that we produce in our communities. I think it's critical. In my house, we use glass jars. Actually, I have a perfect example of one right here. We don't purchase standard cupwares at the store, because when I buy spaghetti jars, because I don't have time to make homemade spaghetti sauce, I'm going to reuse that jar in my cabinet and then use it for other purposes. And again, I think it's the individual's responsibility more so than it is a government responsibility to manage our waste.
Okay. What is your assessment of the School Resource Officer Program in Salem Kaiser School? Do you agree it should be ended? Why or why not?
That's a really great question. And I know it's been a hot button topic for our community for some months, considering I'm on the school board. I actually support the School Resource Officer Program, but I also know that there's room for improvement in all the programs that we have in the Salem Kaiser Public School system. The school resource officers don't just serve what the average community member thinks they serve. I've done ample research within our criminal justice system to really get a pinpoint understanding of what their need is and why they're there. And I would say that if we remove those SROs from our schools, we're going to see a greater impact of youth in our juvenile justice system than we do today. The school resource officer's job is to be in the schools to build relationships and to help bridge the gap between law enforcement and our youth. Oftentimes, I believe that they are not properly used by our administration, and at times brought into situations that are unnecessary. And more often than not, the students don't really understand the role of an officer. We in our community raise our students to understand and respect officers and what their duties to serve and protect the community are. But SROs don't just walk into a school as a police officer. They walk in there to build and form relationships with those students, so that way those students can utilize them if they ever get themselves into a situation that maybe they don't find to be that positive. For me, I know that our SROs are protecting students who don't have anybody else to protect them. And there's plenty of articles out there for our community to turn to understand exactly what they do. A prime example of that is Officer Zavala from Kaiser, who I've worked with personally over many number of years here. And I know that he is out for the best interest of our students. But I also know that when we look at law enforcement as a whole, which is what really is driving the emotional feedback of this particular position, officers have way too much on their plate. And we need to figure out what can be removed and who can take that on to better serve our community in a more equitable way.
Okay, thank you. Assuming there may be cuts in revenue and increase in needs, what are your financial priorities for Marion County's budget?
Well, public safety is the largest financial investment that we make in Marion County. And I think there's always going to be an opportunity to look at that biggest chunk of the pie. I don't have any recommendations at this time to say what I would cut and what I wouldn't cut. but I think that we need to make sure we're serving our community as best we can with the least amount of dollars. The health department is going to be really critical going forward, specifically knowing that there are people who are out of jobs right now because of COVID and because of wildfires, and they're going to need access to health services. And I want to make sure that those individuals can have those basic needs met. In addition to that, we want to make sure that our roadways are safe for individuals to transport themselves to and from their destination. And overall, I think that we just have to take a real hard look at what our citizens of Marion County want from us. After all, they are the ones writing the check, and we need to make sure we're meeting their needs specifically.
Many residents do not understand the role of the county commissioners in our lives. So why should we be interested in this race?
I love this question because a year ago, I didn't really even know what a county commissioner did myself. So I've spent the better part of the last year watching our county commissioners maneuver the various aspects of our county and all the programs that they serve. This is a critical position in our community. I describe it more often than not as the individuals that operate like the governor of the state. The commissioners operate as if they were the governor of the county. They make decisions that taxpayers are funding. They are the ones that drive the narrative to determine how our county is going to operate and what services are going to be provided. They're the ones that convene and collaborate all the communities that are within that county. And they're the ones that people need to partner with to make sure that their neighborhoods, as far as how the county is shaped, are meeting their needs. It's a very critical position, and it's a position that I believe needs to have really active present leadership of people that can pivot and will show up in all those situations.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. It's about time for us to end. So I want to thank candidate Danielle Bethell for our interview today and for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you, Amy, and to everybody at the League of Oregon Women Voters for hosting this. I know COVID-19 has really produced a lot of challenges for us to meet in person and to create those personal connections. So I look forward to the opportunity to hear from members of the community who want me to dive a little further into some of these topics. You can find out more about me, Danielle Bethell, at daniellebethell.com. And you can send me emails at danielle@daniellebethell.com if you'd like to connect. Thank you so much.
Okay. We want to thank Capital Community Media for their time and expertise in creating the program and making it available across the state through YouTube and Vote 411. Thank you to the several leagues of women voter leagues, the American Association of University Women, and the Salem City Club for being interviewers and creating questions. And thank you, the public, for watching Your Vote Counts in order to become a more informed voter. For voter information, including dates, registration, candidates for the state and local area, and ballot measures and information, go online to vote411.org. You have until October 13th to register to vote, with ballots being mailed to you beginning on October 14th. November 3rd is the general election day. Please remember that postmarks don't matter. All ballots must be returned on or before November 3rd. Elections matter, and they make a difference. So remember to vote, because your vote counts.